Hello and welcome to Uncle Voodoo's top secret testing facility, hidden up in the Blue Ridge Mountain somewhere. We'll say that. Actually, it wouldn't be that hard to find. Out here we've got all kinds of things. We've got single track, we've got tarmac roads that look like they were imported from Beirut. I've got a mountain to climb. We're going to do all that today. We're going to put this bike through its paces a little bit. We're not going to ring it out because it's still under break-in. I've only got like 30 miles on this bike. It's got a little bit of dirt on it. You can see I've done a little bit on it already getting out here. But I just wanted to talk to the subscribers, so I'm not going to put any tags or ads or anything on this video. This is just for the subscribers who have questions and things like that, or kind of want things explained a little bit of what I did here. First thing, we'll just start right off the bat with the Trail 125. Why didn't I buy it? It's another 125. I would have ended up with two of the same powered bikes, basically. And I had kind of an epiphany, because when I did the first video where I mentioned I might go ahead and buy a second bike that was a little bigger, in that video I drove to the exit of a trail ride that I wanted to do. So I wanted to see how long it was going to take to get home once the trail ride was over. You know, how long was it going to take me to get home? And that road wasn't too bad. It was okay, but it took a long time. And I was barely had enough power to maintain, speed with traffic and things like that. Weeks later, I ended up having to cancel that trip, so I never got to take it. And so several weeks later, months later, it was just a couple weeks ago actually, I ended up in, way south of here in my car. And I was on a road that was pretty twisty, had a 65-mile-an-hour speed limit, and there was pretty heavy traffic, and people were driving like morons, really. There were semi-trucks, just weaving through lanes and things, and I was just like, God, I cannot wait to get off this road. And I'm in my car, and I was like, this is awful. But the longer I spent on it, and started noticing, things geographically, I was like, wait a minute. This is the road that gets to the beginning of that trail. That's the road I was going to be on the Monkey, if I took that trip. And it just dawned on me. I was like, holy crap, this is not where I want to be on a 125. I would have been in serious trouble on that road. I would have been off on the shoulder to avoid getting run over on that road. And so I was like, wow, I better not buy another 125 because I'm going to need some speed on occasion. And that's one of those times. And so as soon as that happened and I realized where I was, the Trail 125 was off the list. I couldn't buy it. And I had a lot of bikes, up and down my list, because I had some criteria in my head and things that I wanted the bike to do, things it needed to have certain, abilities or certain equipment on it and things like that. And so a lot of bikes, moved up and down the list. I looked at all kinds of things. I looked at like the KTM 390 Adventures, the Husqvarna Svartpillen. I like that bike. That was a cool looking bike. But they were just a little too high strung, in my opinion, because they make really good power. They make 45 horsepower out of a 375cc engine. That's good. But like I said, those engines are a little bit high strung, and I was kind of worried about longevity of that engine. I like the Royal Enfield Interceptor. Thought that was a good bike. Just not really off-road worthy enough. Even if I scramblerized one out, it wasn't going to be worthy enough. There's a lot of things I looked at. A lot of bikes I liked, like the CRF 250 Rally. Liked that bike. Just didn't have the fuel capacity and range and luggage carrying ability that I really wanted. Things like that. And this bike here, the Himalayan, was never like at the top of my list where I was just looking at it going, I'm buying that bike. It was just like, there's always that one. That one's cool. I like it. The big elephant in the room on this bike is it's only 24.5 horsepower. And so it always kind of stayed, not number one, but like number two on my list. I was like, if that thing just had 10 more horsepower. But it don't. So I just kind of always set it to the side. Because in my opinion, you really need about 30 to 35 horsepower before you get to a point where you no longer have power issues. When you're wanting to commute or just keep up with traffic, things like that. Yeah, if you're going out on a racetrack or even riding a dirt bike, things like that, you might want some more power. But at about 30 to 35, you really don't need more. Let's put it that way. And so this bike just didn't make that, you know, it was just under that limit that I had set arbitrarily. You know, that's just my opinion. And so it was never really number one. But out of all the bikes that did get to number one, they all got kicked off the list for some reason or another, like the KTMs. I just thought that it was just too high strung. I couldn't spend the money on it because I didn't think they were going to last long enough. So it was off the list. The next bike, off the list. And so everything just kept falling off the list, and this bike stayed. And the only thing I could find wrong with it really was the horsepower. And I thought about it a little bit, and you know, we might be asking too much from some of these bikes, I think. Because if we compare these to, say, an SUV, an on-off-road four-wheeled vehicle, you can get, like, say, the new Range Rover. It's about $100,000 for one. It's pretty pricey, for me anyways. But it's got good off-road ability. It's luxurious. It's got all the bells and whistles. The interior's fantastic. You got your display screens and all the, you know, drive modes and everything like that. And you can get that in a bike. You can get like the GS 1250, and that, you know, that'd be kind of comparable to a Range Rover off-road. That's pretty good. You can drop all the way down to, say, the TW 200 or the CRF 250 rallies and things like that. You can get down in that range. You know, they're not nearly as expensive or decked out as that bike, but they are capable. You know, it'd be like having kind of like a Suzuki Jimny or something like that. You know, it'd be kind of comparable, you know, to those bikes. But this one, what would I compare it to? It'd be more like buying like a Series 3 Land Rover. You know, something old like that, or maybe a four-cylinder Jeep Wrangler. And if you look at those vehicles, if you bought one of those, you wouldn't expect to go 90 miles an hour down the interstate in one. So I really can't expect to do that on this bike either. So I kind of have to, you know, keep it in perspective, you know, what I'm going to do with the bike and what it's actually capable of and what it's made to do. This bike was made for the Indian market. It was made to ride in the Himalayas, and there they don't need, you know, a ton of power, things like that. Because even if you have way more power on tap than you need, you can get into trouble if you accidentally, if you're hitting a rough section and you know, give it a little bit of gas, you can get yourself in trouble. You're not really going to do that with this. It does have a buttload of torque, you know, 23 foot-pounds of torque like that. So even though the horsepower is comparable to a 250, the torque is a lot higher. So it's got that chug ability, and I like, you know, low-end power as opposed to having to wring the engine to get the power out of it. So that kind of suits me a little better. What else we got here? Oh, she's going to get some upgrades. Those tires aren't the greatest. They're Pirelli MT60s. They're more of a street-oriented tire, probably 60% street, 40% off-road maybe. I'll get something a lot more aggressive. It's going to get panniers on it, things like that. I went with the hard panniers over the soft just because of convenience. Because I do want to get rid of my car eventually. I've never been a car guy. I've always had motorcycles. And I used to just ride a motorcycle year-round. I'd ride in the snow, don't care. But I ended up buying a car once we had kids. And we worked separate shifts. My wife had the car at work all day, and I was home alone with the kids, and all I had was a motorcycle. Couldn't take the kids on a motorcycle, so I ended up buying a car. But now the kids are gone. I hardly ever drive my car. So I might go ahead and get rid of the car. We'll see if this thing works as a car replacement once I get the luggage and everything for it. Yeah, we got some upgrades coming. The Monkey's going to get some upgrades. I'm going to go ahead, since the Monkey is going to be my off-road hooligan bike. Because I'll say it right now. I have taken this down a few little trails just to see what I thought of it. And I can tell you right now, the Monkey will eat this thing for breakfast off-road. The Monkey is an incredible off-road bike, actually. I'm really happy with that bike, the way it operates off-road. But yeah, the Monkey will run rings around this thing on these tight trails. No question. It wouldn't even be a contest. So the Monkey's going to get some good upgrades, and by spring it's going to be a pretty badass little bike, and I'm going to have a lot more fun on that. And so between the two bikes, like I said, this one will be more the camping bike and traveling bike. The Monkey's going to be the play bike, and I think it'll be a good team up. It'll be a good contrast with each other. Instead of having two bikes that are kind of similar, this way I've got a contrast between the two. definitely. And they each have their place. We'll put it that way. So let's go out here and see what we've got and what kind of trouble we can get into. We'll stop and talk again once we get up to the top of the mountain, and I'll give my thoughts on how I think she did. So let's go. Here we have our tarmac section, but it's busted up. And now it's gone. Now we're back to tarmac. Some potholes. Now we're back to gravel. Tarmac coming back up. Big pothole right in the middle. Let's hit it. There we go. Another pothole. Big one here. Alright, so now we're heading off the tarmac onto gravel, and this will climb to the top of this mountain. This is Peavine Mountain. I think today is the first day of deer season, so we might see some hunters out here. I've seen a few camping out here. So now we're turning up the mountain. So now it's just a climb all the way to the top. And I might keep my speed down. Trying to stay below 3,500 RPMs. As you can see, I don't have 40 miles on the bike yet. I do have a nice instrument cluster though. This is the first bike I've ever owned that had a gear indicator, and we're in second gear. Clock. The ambient temperature is wrong because the temperature sensor is too close to the engine. I'm going to relocate that and get that fixed. It's got 3 trip odometers. Well, 2 trip odometers and a fuel odometer. When the fuel gauge gets down to its reserve area, a trip odometer is automatically going to pick up. It's called trip F for fuel. And it starts giving you a count up of how many miles you've done since you hit reserve. So with this getting 75, 80 miles a gallon, I should be looking for a gas station around 40 miles. Probably more hunters there. Let's keep heading up. This road isn't too bad. I probably wouldn't want to come up it in my car. Nothing really gnarly here, just kind of dead ends. The trail where we took the monkey and the TW200, that rocky section again. Where we took the monkey and the TW200 and went submarining. Ends up here, it comes out up here, but it was closed that day. This is where we would have came out at if we would have been able to continue on and not had closed trails ahead of us. I really wish they would open that all the way up, because that would be a nice ride all the way across there. Because there's no other, that's the only off-road route to get from where I normally ride to over on this side. So there's mountains and stuff in between, and I have to go the long way around to get over here. And if that road was open, I could just take it the whole way and it'd be fine. And it'd be a great ride. And hell, people would probably come out here and pay to do tours of it, guide them along that. But it's closed all the time. Now, I did the whole thing once, or not, I can't say I did the whole thing. I did it from this end and came out at the Blue Ridge Parkway and stopped there. I didn't continue on, but I have done this end. Man, it must have been 12 years ago when I had my TW. I was just out here exploring one day and found it and thought it was a great trail. And then every time I've been back here, it's been closed. I think what happened is people in four-wheel drives come out here and go mudding, and they just tear up the place. And so I think the Forestry Service just kind of closed the roads to everybody after that. I'll have to annotate in what the elevation change is here, how high we're climbing. This is the Blue Ridge Mountains. This isn't, wash out, hang on. This isn't like the Colorado Rockies or the Himalayas or anything like that. So there's people camping down there pretty late in the year for that. So I'm assuming they've got hunting camps set up. I've never camped up here. Like I said, I try not to camp too high up in the mountains because of lack of water or spring water. I try to find springs and creeks and rivers to camp near. But that's going to change with this bike, because I'm going to do something kind of special with it that'll take care of that situation. Because these load racks here on the front are going to end up carrying a gallon of fuel and 1 gallon of water, so I can start packing water in with me instead of having to get it once I get to where I'm going. Yeah, I'm really liking the torque on the bike. It's got a little pep in its step. They said it might not be high horsepower, but the torque is very good. Tires could be better. I'm sliding the rear end around a little bit, but it is kind of wet. We just had a tropical storm come through here. I gotta hold myself back. I'm wanting to play, but I don't want to rev the engine too much right now. So I'm kind of restraining myself. I'd love to go flying through here. Once this is broken in and got some better tires on it, these kind of trails would be great. The tighter, rougher stuff, though, it's a little heavy, a little big for that. Got the truck coming here. Windscreen is a little bit short. The wind blast does hit me right in the face. So I will say that. I don't know if I'll get a taller one or not. I really don't care about that. I'm going to put some 12-volt plugs on this so I can charge my equipment while I'm riding. Let's see, I've got a whole list of stuff I plan to do, and it's not super expensive. I think total it's maybe $1,200 or something like that. Standing on this bike is really nice. I do like that. It's easy to just stand right up. It's comfortable. I am going to have to get some tank pads or some knee pads for the sides of the tank because I want to grip the tank and it's really slick. It's just glossy paint. More hunters. And more climbing. Up we go. He said, I'm just chugging along at 2,500 RPM. Second gear, just letting it do its thing. Because I love the Monkey. That's a great little bike. But I don't like its power delivery. I don't like that I have to wring it out so much. I'd rather have something like this where I can just chug along. I like to use low-end grunt torque versus the horsepower, you know, trying to wring the horsepower out of the bike. I do have to be a little careful because I don't know what's underneath some of these leaves. So I have to watch how fast I hit some of this. Pull over here for just a second. Let you guys look. So you see how high up in the mountains we are now. Get a little bit of a view there. Pretty cool. A lot of reviewers don't like this front brake. Say it's a weak front brake, and it is. But it is by design. It's supposed to be like this. You can grab a handful of brake and not, you know, drop the front end of this thing. That's what this is for. So a lot of reviewers seem to take this bike and put it in elements it's not designed for and then bitch about it. I mean, I could take a Ferrari up this thing and complain all day about how shitty a Ferrari handles on this stuff. But it just doesn't make any sense. So you put a car or a bike in the right environment where it's supposed to be and then review it. So yeah, I discount a lot of the reviews that I've seen on this bike, even by big, like bigger name YouTubers and stuff. I think they're full of crap. Catch a little bit of air, how about that? Let's do some more. Well, here we are at the end of the road. This is where the trail that we did on the TW and the Monkey would have come out at. It would have came out right here. That looks like a little bit of single track right there, don't it? Let's go in there. Ah, there's a lake up here. Check it out, I never knew that was here. So the Himalayan's already paid off. Now I know where there's a lake on top of the mountain. I'm not sure if I got the total ground clearance to just go over that. I might. Oh yeah, good thing I didn't try that. Let me get it neutral here. Yeah, there's a big mud hole at the other end. So I would have launched off that and been in trouble. So this is cool. So this is going to be a new camp spot I'm going to hit. So check that out. Let's go ahead and park and take us a break right here. So how cool was that? The Himalayan's not even broken in yet. Got less than 40 miles on it now. And we've discovered a new area. And that's what it's all about. That's why I do this. I just go out exploring. I see a little footpath like that one down there. let's take it, see where it goes. And here we are. So now we've got a new camping spot. I'm gonna have to come up here and camp out. This is a quiet spot too, listen. There's just nothing up here. And we are on top of the mountain there. Mountain top is like right behind the camera there. So this is pretty cool. I've never been up here. I said we're just out exploring. Even though I've been on that road a bunch of times, I've never gone off on that little trail to see where it went. And there's those all over the place out here. So we'll be doing a lot more exploring. That's pretty cool. So what do I think? We got up here just chugging along. I mean, what do we do? 2,500 to 3,500 RPM or so up the mountain. First, second gear, just chugged along. It made it fine, no problems. Plenty of torque. That's what I like about the bike. Lots of low-end grunt and things like that. I probably goosed it a couple of times just screwing around, but like I said, I'm really holding myself back. Trying to do the decent break-in on this one. Not gonna go balls out right away. So let me go do some more riding and we'll get some accessories on it. I've got some panniers coming. We'll get some camping gear on it right away and we'll take it out and freeze our butts off one night because it's cold. It's like in 40s Fahrenheit here. And one thing I can say about this layered setup, it works well. I'm not cold, but it's hard to take a pee in it. You gotta like strip all kinds of stuff off. So I might have been better off getting the one-piece setup instead of the layered setup. I might buy another set next year, we'll see. Then I'll have both. So I am gonna go and continue on putting some miles on this thing, getting her broke in, and I just wanted to talk to you guys, the subscribers. This video is just for you guys. I'm not putting any tags on it or any ads or anything like that. This is just for you guys who are following along, so you guys understand where I'm at, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, things like that, and what to expect in the future. So we got new exploration bike. Monkey's going to get a little bit of hot rod work done to it, and it's going to be back in action hopefully pretty soon. So stay tuned, and we'll get some more videos out for you guys. Take care.